Now I'm at the point you wanna be with me. I'm vibing out at a higher frequency, cause everything that I want and I'm gonna be, it's when I wake up, that's when I start to dream. Someone you love is talking down, here is the plan. Let it fall through like a handful of sand. Nothing happens overnight, what you must understand. If you dwell on the bad, then you don't stand a chance. Something you want upset, saying why it ain't mine yet. That's because now you have yet to change your mindset. People don't put their mind to rest while they're so wired. A lot of people go to sleep and wake up tired. Power of positivity and persistence. Say that I can, we'll just sit back and witness. Make an impact when our time is done. Make money, help people, and have lots of fun. Whoa.
Welcome to Office Hours, hosted by legendary sports executive, entrepreneur, and investor David Meltzer, where the brightest entrepreneurial minds in business, sports, and entertainment get together to talk about success, failure, and everything in between.
I think a lot of people are burnt out not because they're doing too much. I think a lot of us are burnt out because we're doing too little of the things that really matter.
Essentially, to move on to be the next version of yourself, some aspect or some pattern has to die.
I think the inconsequential moments are the most crucial moments because they actually do have consequences.
Take a deep dive into the mind of some of the world's most impactful guests.
Just throw yourself into things head first and give it your all. Failure's part of the course.
All of us are committed to living a service-driven life, to leave the planet in better shape than how we found it. And I think that as much as we've chosen this path with our lives, that we were chosen for this.
To share their strategies and tools to dominate their respective fields.
You cannot lead people at something you've never done if you've never done it. It just doesn't work.
Understanding that we live in a place in consciousness where there are no limits.
Because everything that's ever happened to you has actually happened in your favor.
David Meltzer hosts Office Hours.
We are in Miami today for the Elevation, of course, mastermind that we have with Tim Story and many others. But next week on Monday, we'll be in Chicago. Tuesday, we'll be in Boston. Wednesday, we'll be in South Dakota. And next Sunday, we'll be in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium for a mastermind at the Rams and 49ers game. So we'd love anybody from our community to join us directly. And all you have to do is reach out to David at dmeltzer.com, and of course, join the text community so you're getting the reminders on where David's going to be. And that's just 949-298-2905. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to David to guide us through the Infinite Loop training.
Thank you, Nick. And I am excited to get started as I'm coordinating all these different things and places. Can you put this on me, Nick, real quick? So one of the things that's interesting is when we think about infinite, we expose ourselves as humans, and our capability of being human, it is impossible to understand or know the infinite. Infinite time, infinite possibility, infinite abundance. And that's because if I ask you to think as big as you can, I can always say +1. And it blows our mind when we think about, no, I understand infinite. And then you tell me, okay, well, knowing that the only thing that limits us is the meaning of the past, which is infinite, and our self-image, which is infinite. And no matter how big you get and what meaning you give to your purpose, passion, and even the profitability in your life, no matter how big your self-image is, I can always just say +1. And it just got bigger, expanded +1. And so I find it very useful to understand abundance versus scarcity by understanding infinite. When we can explore the concept of abundance and focus in on how giving and receiving are one, are interconnected in this in endless loop of abundance, how there is something bigger than us, an infinite unified system of abundance, and understanding if we can shift our mindset from the scarcity that we have, the basement that we have, to a new ceiling, a new understanding, a new knowing of what we don't know, which is the infinite. And within the context of the infinite is we don't know what we don't know, which is how I derive my favorite quote in the world, which is you're either humble or you're about to be. And so if we want to understand abundance versus scarcity, those terms get thrown around a lot, but I'm not sure everybody. There we go. We can mute that.
The other seed
Oh.
worried about leaving home.
Thank you. But understanding what that means to you, the scarcity that people have. I've had people, tell me that the scarcity of understanding that I'm not scarce, I'm rich. Well, rich is a matter of having different items or material goods, but true abundance is faith and wisdom. And so a scarcity mindset, no matter how much you have, is a limited mindset. It is not a humble mindset. It is the belief that resources are limited and you are the ultimate resource. If our source is an abundant, infinite, unified system of more than enough of everything for everyone, and you are a resource of that, then you too are unlimited. But in order to take advantage of understanding where our limits are, we need to understand the humility that exists in the limited faith that we have and the limited wisdom that we have, the ability to know or understand where we are and where we can and what we can become. And so scarcity at different levels operates from a place of fear or separation. Everything becomes a competition, a trade, a negotiation, and there is some part or parcel of lack, no matter how much you continue to expand and grow. And so I want you to think about in our lives, how can we +1 the scarce, limited resource that we are or other are to us? And within the context of that is this idea of what we identify as, because as we learn what we identify as and we realize what we're limited of, we can see the several different things that we do and what we limit ourselves with. Are you identifying ourselves with what we do, with how much you have, with who you know? Are you separate from anything? And so many people's identity, and I was one of them when I was younger, that was identifying with how much money I had or what I did. And this comes from and operates from a place of fear, competition, and lack. Now, when we start using wisdom and faith in order to expand the limitations that we put upon ourselves as a resource, we need a belief that there's something bigger than us, an infinite, abundant, unified system of thought that we all belong to, that we all are resources of. And instead of placing our focus, our attention and intention on fear, competition, lack, negotiation, otherwise scarcity, we now can focus our attention and intention of what we do, say, think, feel, and believe on collaboration, coordination, opportunity, expansion, and growth. And understanding that no matter how much we expand, accelerate, and aggregate these focuses, that there is still more than enough on top of it. And just because we have more than enough doesn't mean we're limiting anyone else from having more enough of everything from everyone. And when we create the interference between this and the infinite, abundant, unified system, that we are simply using fear or scarcity to interfere, or separation to interfere. And that comes from the ability to see how we react to the competition, the comparison, the lack, or the fear. And when we realize that we are spending our time accelerating, aggregating, and compounding an interference to the source, to the abundance, to the infinite, then we can start really seeing the nuance between a scarce vision and an abundant one. And scarcity itself, no matter how much you have, think about the idea, and I'm a big fan of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you haven't read it in a while, reread it. But in there are some key principles of scarcity and abundance. One is the difference between being rich and wealthy. Rich is the amount of money you have or the things that you own. Wealthy is simply the income that's derived from the assets that you have is greater than the expenses. That's an abundant mindset, because you can do what you want, when you want, with who you want in that abundant mindset. And what we want to do is look for the clues and the patterns, the common barriers between us and where we have a scarcity mindset, and reflecting on not just what we think, like in Think and Grow Rich, not just what we do, not just what we say, not just what we believe, but what we feel. And when we feel abundance, we feel comfortable and confident in 4 different things that are the ultimate proof of abundance. And the first is obvious, it's giving. A lot of people don't live their lives of service and of value, are afraid to give because they're afraid if they give something that they won't receive it back. Now, most of us believe the more that we give, the more we receive. And so we are of service and of value. We do want to give selflessly, offering value, whether it's time, energy, knowledge, or resources, and utilizing our giving nature. And I always say there's a doggy bone that's given in the process of giving, is that I believe that our source as a resource rewards us when we are doing things in abundance. And so when we give, we get a dose of happiness. Our system is created to give us dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins when we give. And when we offer that value of giving people more of what they like, taking away some, if not all, of what they don't like, be it time, energy, knowledge, or resources, we are given a dose of happiness. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins are released, and we become extremely happy. Now, other examples of being of service or value can be simply mentorship and providing directions to people to where they want to be or better, and also to understand straight charitable contributions of time, energy, money, and value. These are easy ways, as I suggest for people when they ask me, hey, I'm unemployed, what can I do? Mr. Meltzer, can you help me get a job? Sure. Why don't you go help someone else? Volunteer. You'll be amazed how many new options, opportunities, and touches of favor are given to you when you are giving and being of service or value of your time, energy, knowledge, or resources. And so looking at the comparative mindsets of scarcity, regardless of how rich you are, but completely aligned and indicated by wealth, is this idea of I have more to give. You can understand that the more you give, the greater the infinite loop, but you can't give what you don't have. And so we need to work within the system of doing, saying, thinking, feeling, believing to understand that abundance and the mindset that allows us to give more. Why is it important to give more? Because the more we give, the more we receive. But it's not automatic. If it was, then every single mom, every teacher, every first responder, every United States vet would have the most in their lives. But they don't, because it's not automatic. See, I did research on giving, and whether it's religions, philosophies, theories, spirituality, what all texts really state is the more you give, the more you're given. Now, so many people live their life and they don't see all that they're given. They live in a world of not enough, where they're being punished, where they think they're victims, or they're lying to themselves like I had done, and they live in a world of just enough for them. So they live in this false facade of optimism where they tell themselves, oh, everything happens for me. Well, that's actually a scarce mentality as well, that things happen through you, not for you. And those people usually don't understand the distinction of the scarce mindset and an abundant mindset, in the respect that for me is limited, for you or for me. And so we end up buying things we don't need to impress people we don't like. And we end up in a scarce mentality, regardless of how rich we are, regardless of the material goods that we have or the items that we have or don't have. And this first step is truly where so many of the most giving and kind people fall down, is they give more, and every time they give, they don't or aren't aware of all they're given. They see pain, setbacks, failures, mistakes, lessons in light as punishment instead of promotion, protection, and love. So they look at the things that happen in their lives that are unexpected, that they didn't want, didn't know, and they immediately give it a meaning of scarcity, of being punished, of creating limit in their life instead of abundance. And so in the infinite loop that exists in a unified, abundant system of thought that we have, that we do say, think, feel, and believe, aligned with where we want to be or better, in what I call a divine direction, with divine detours in the divine itself, we realize that scarcity exists not only in not giving of value, service, and emotion, but it exists in not being aware of all that we're given and giving it the meaning of faith, that we're given more than enough of everything for everyone, even though it looks like a divine detour. And I remember, as most people know, when I had lost everything, there was no way I was humanly capable of understanding or knowing how losing everything, including my mom's house, even though the only reason I wanted to be rich was to buy my mom a house, who was a single mom who worked 2 jobs, one as a second grade teacher, and then packed our dinner into a paper bag and drove around, and then filled up turnstiles at convenience stores with greeting cards just so we could eat. There was no way I could see this as a divine detour. All I thought about was punishment. And it was until then that I didn't realize that I did, said, think, felt, and believed with faith in scarcity, not in abundance. I had faith in money. I actually told my mom, when I had to tell her she was moving and I had lost everything, I told her, why am I being punished? This was not a divine detour. This was punishment. I was living in a world of not enough. And I actually said, Mom, I have no faith. I have no faith. I've done everything I can to help other people. Why am I being punished? I have lost everything, including your home. I don't believe in God. And my mom looked at me and said, son, you believe in God. You believe in the wrong God. And that's when I realized that I have been unaware in scarcity, unaware of all that I was given. That all the health and knowledge and wisdom and community and energy, all the things that I was given, I had ignored, and I had created a separation between me and my source. I had become a diminished resource of my source, even though I was rich. And so to understand all that we're given, we have to elevate our awareness through 3 things. One, gratitude. So when divine detours occur in our lives, things that we don't understand or know could possibly be good, we have to use gratitude to find the light, the love, and the lessons in it. Because I will tell you, when I lost over $100 million, it was a divine detour that saved not only my marriage, but saved my life. And that divine detour, if I did not live in gratitude, I would not have been capable of understanding or knowing the divine detour I was taking. The second skill that's necessary is forgiveness. If we don't have the ability to forgive ourselves, then we cannot give that to others either. And because we're humans and the divine detours in a divine direction, in order to allow divine time to take its course, we need to use forgiveness in order to accelerate that course, to allow the divine time, to allow us to create abundance. And this inspires others. It puts others in spirit with forgiveness. And then the confirmation of faith beyond the wisdom of shortening the distance of resistance that we create for ourselves in that divine direction, in divine time, by understanding and knowing divine detours and allowing the light, the love, and the lesson to come forward to create revelations, to reveal themselves of all that we're given. We need to be accountable. And there's three ways that we learn these lessons through accountability. One, what did I do to attract this to myself? What did I do to be responsible for it? And what am I doing to participate in the perception, an abundant perception of what others perceive as scarce or as punishment? Can you find a divine detour and see the blessing in it? And how long or how quickly can you find that blessing in it? And so instead of living in this zero-sum game of giving more and receiving less, which ultimately leads us to zero, we now have a formula, the start of the infinite loop of giving more and being given more only if we elevate our awareness, knowledge, and capability by being grateful, forgiving, and accountable. That leaves us inspired. Now, if it wasn't difficult enough in the infinite loop in order to give more and to reach out above scarcity, but also to be aware of what we're given, even when it seems as if it's punishment, utilizing gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, and living in spirit, inspired in the infinite loop, if that wasn't difficult enough, most of the kindest and most generous people in the world, they don't receive. Most people feel scarce when they're receiving, not giving. Most people don't get the dose of happiness, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, because they don't receive. And if you don't live in the infinite loop, in abundance, and you're not asking every single day, when I wake up every morning, I have two asks. May God put at least 10 people in front of me I can help, and may God put at least 10 people in front of me that will help me. And in the infinite loop of the abundance, not the scarce mindset, we need to receive. We need to be able to be capable and acknowledge that we are worthy of receiving all that we're given. We need to learn to receive graciously without guilt, fear, resentment, in which the majority of the people in the world do not have a problem giving. They may have a problem being aware of, knowing, and capable of all that they're given because they see things as punishment, either to me, for me, not through me. But more importantly, they simply feel guilty, resentful, and fearful when they receive, as if they're going to owe somebody something or there's not enough of it. If we went out to dinner, you and I, and somebody served 1,000 steaks to our table, would you feel bad receiving a second, third, or fourth steak? Would you feel bad about giving it away? Would you feel guilty, resentful, or fearful that there wasn't enough steak for you and I? Well, there's more than enough blank for everyone, the 7.6 billion people, more than enough for everyone. There's more than enough. If there's 8 billion people, there's 80 billion of everything. And it takes wisdom and faith in order to accommodate the confidence and comfortability in receiving. But for the sake of what? For the sake of what you give? For the sake of what are you aware of all that you're given? And for the sake of what are you receiving? This takes us out of the realm of scarcity. it puts us back into the two limitations in which we give ourselves in our lives, which is the meaning of the past and our self-image. You will never overachieve you will never over-receive your own self-image. I'm going to repeat that. You will never overachieve, and you never will over-receive your own self-image. Put a thread on that. And in the context of the zero-sum game, in which most people don't give more because they're scarce, they don't and aren't aware of all that they're given because they're scarce, and they certainly don't receive because they're scarce. They're not using the wisdom that's created through forgiveness, gratitude, and accountability. They're not using the faith that they're a resource of an abundant, infinite system of thought. They're not using any of that. And the ultimate confirmation of the infinite loop, where you give more, you're given more, and receive more, is if you are abundant, then you will have no problem asking for more. Even when there's 1,000 steaks on our table, are you asking for another 1,000? So why? Asking is crucial to keeping the infinite loop flowing. Each of these steps are crucial to keeping the infinite loop flowing, expanding, growing, accelerating, aggregating, and compounding. And asking is the most difficult and the greatest confirmation of faith, that there's more than enough of everything for everyone. If you truly believe in an omniscient and all-powerful, all-knowing source, and you believe you're a resource, that you're protected, promoted, and loved by that source, if you truly believe it, you would have no problem, no guilt, no resentment, no fear in asking for more. And if you're not asking today, in person, on the phone, via email, media, traditional, social, if you're not asking, you're exponentially cutting and interfering your abundance. And there won't be more than enough. And you'll live in the zero-sum game like the most generous and kind people that I know, that give everything that they have and ask for less. You know, if you have 100% and you give it all away and you only take back 99%, eventually you're going to get to zero. Whether you're asking for help, opportunities, resources, connections, value, whatever it is, time, emotion, value, it doesn't matter. If you're asking and you have faith that there's more than enough of it, you will acquire the wisdom in order to receive it. And it is a matter of that divine direction that you have, by identifying the meaning of the divine detours in alignment with that direction and allowing for the revelations that occur within divine time to prove and confirm your faith that there's more than enough of everything for everyone. And no longer will you live in a zero-sum game. Because now, through this abundant mindset, you will be giving more, you'll be given more, you'll receive more, and you'll ask for more than more. And now that you've asked for more than more, you'll be able to give more than more, be given more than more, receive more than more, and ask for more than more. This is how people live in abundance mindset. And it's not just money, it's every type of energy it is. It's relationships and kindness and wisdom and values of any kind. All of them will expand into an abundant nature where your blessing in the morning is, I have more than enough options, opportunities, and touch of favor in my life, that I now have only one capability, which is called prioritization. I need to prioritize the 24 hours that I have today to utilize all the options, opportunities, and touches of favor aligned with where I want to be or better. And get out of and debunk the zero-sum mindset, creating exponentiality through the acceleration, aggregation, and compounding effects of energy. The three characteristics of energy: it aggregates, accelerates, and compounds. It is the debunking of the zero mindset. Fear of giving more and receiving less is a block to abundance, an interference to who you want to be or better. Reflect on how this mindset has influenced your approach in life. How many of you sit there, even when I'm speaking today, and tell me, no, I hear it all the time. I'll give this infinite loop analogy, and people will tell me all the time, well, I still don't like to receive. It's not good to receive. I don't know. I can't ask. It's not good. Well, for the sake of what? If you're buying or shopping or asking for the right reasons, for the right things, then for the sake of helping other people, why not? Why not live in an abundant world? Trust the process. The infinite loop creates flow and abundance in all aspects of life, whether it's business, relationship, or personal development. Trust that what you give will be returned in ways that you may not expect because you're not capable of knowing outcomes, because we have, as human beings, limitations of meaning and self-image. If you want mindset exercises, this guide, my book, to live in an abundant world and more than enough of everything for everyone, if you want to learn how, just reach out to me, david@dmeltzer.com. I will send you the guide, the exercise, my book on having more than enough of everything for everyone, teaching and giving you the wisdom and the faith to shorten the distance of resistance that you're creating in a world of more than enough of everything for everyone. I promise you, living in the infinite loop is the greatest neighborhood that we can all live in. I'm going to hand it off to the amazing Nick. He's a well-oiled machine. We're going to hand it off him to reset the room and take some questions. Nick and Wam, what's going on?
Absolutely. And thank you so much, David. A quick reset of the room here. We are officially at halftime, so you know what that means. It's time for a little bit of Q&A. You guys bring the questions and David will bring the answers. As a reminder, of course, as we continue to invite any of our friends, family, colleagues, and people we know would benefit from this incredible conversation to the room. Also, as you have your questions for David today, if you're on stage, please just put a note in the room chat. So, of course, I can pass it over to you. And if you're in the audience, please use that hand icon to request to join the stage, and of course we will aim to bring you up. And just as a reminder, especially for the guide from today's Infinite Loop training, as well as if for any reason you don't have a copy of David's book, which he will send to you, he will sign, and he will pay for shipping. It is completely free, people. All you need to do is reach out to David directly, david@dmeltzer.com, and of course join the text community 949-298-2905, so you're getting the reminders on where David is going to be as well. Now, with that said, David, to kick off the incredible Q&A today, I'm going to pass it over to the one and only Brent. Brent, it's been a few weeks, my friend. It's great to see you here. Happy Friday. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Happy Friday. Lots of love. Thanks for opening up the stage with me. I totally appreciate it. Been doing activities, yes. Loved the lesson today, asking and it shall be given, seek and it shall be found, knock and it will be open, like it reminds me of the Sermon on the Mount. So my question, I got a little twisted up this last couple weeks with all my training, and I could not wait to ask you this question, David. Learning, knowledge, and wisdom, right? There's like distinctual differences in all three of those, and I got all twisted up. Can you straighten out, the importance and what we're actually in control of there?
Yeah, so we're not in control of any outcome. What we're always in control of is our behaviors. And the good news about behaviors is they're ours. And the behaviors are only defined as good or bad, defined by their alignment of where we want to be or better. And so good behaviors create good progress if it's aligned with where we want to be or better. Bad behaviors create interference between where we want to be or better. And so behaviors are a culmination of our attention, of what we focus in on, and our intention. Behavior is an aggregate of what we do, say, think, feel, and believe, aligned with where we want to be or better. And if those behaviors are interfering with where we want to be or better, then they'll be determined as good or bad. So your good behavior, Brent, may be bad behavior, and my good behavior may be bad behavior too. And it's a matter of utilizing the mathematical equation of luck, that what I'm paying attention to and what I give my intention to not only equals my behavior, so it must align with where I want to be or better, but it also will then in divine time equal the coinciding of the universe, the coincidence, results, and outcomes. And so when we start creating interference by not focusing in on our attention, our behaviors, making sure that only divine direction, meaning allows us to give meaning to the divine detours, and also knowing our divine timing of that direction. So what I want you to do is take a step back, see what you're paying attention to each day, how you're prioritizing your intention of what you're doing, saying, thinking, feeling, believing with the 24 hours that you're guaranteed every single day of your life, except for the last day. You'll be cheated in seconds, minutes, or hours, depending on how lucky you are. But more importantly, what I want you to do is take a step back and realize that the only outcome that's guaranteed that you have control of is progress. And the only way that we control progress is to control our behaviors. And our behaviors are made up of what we focus in on, pay attention to, and give our intention to of what we're doing, saying, thinking, feeling, and believing in that 24-hour period, according to the circumstances that actually exist today. And so as I create this perception of my intention and attention, and as I'm becoming greater at aggregating a consistent, persistent behavior aligned with where I want to be or better, and identifying when and where I'm interfering with it, I'm utilizing not only the man-made construct of time to be more productive, accessible, gracious, but I'm actually utilizing divine time by understanding my divine direction and giving meaning to the divine detours that are also aligned with my divine direction, which also gives me a favorable perception of divine time, which becomes one of the greatest interferences of my faith, that how come if there's a God, it's not happening when I want it to happen or in the way that I want it to happen? There's the core of uncertainty in our lives. And we all know that faith and hope is derived by being able to believe, say, do, think, and feel, even though we have no evidence at all that we are achieving what we want or attracting or learning from what we want. And so as you re-engineer your vision, your intention into your behaviors, knowing that your behaviors are yours, not what's right for me, not what's missing, not what you don't have, but what you want. Your good behaviors create good progress only if defined by your divine direction, allowing you to give meaning of your past, which will give meaning to the detours and allow you to elevate, dissipate, and dissolve the one interference that even human beings have a difficult time, which is allowing divine time, which other people call surrendering. I don't call it surrender at all. I call it taking control of my life through wisdom and faith and a pragmatic approach of my behaviors that create progress in my life, allowing it to aggregate, accelerate, and compound into outcomes that are divine, not mine. And I hope that helped you.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. Always, you have a way of simplifying things that sounds complicated, but not actually really. So thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you, Nick, and the whole community. Thank you so much.
We love you, Brent, and thanks so much for joining us here. And of course, we hope to see you not only on those Monday group calls, which of course, if anybody isn't a part of David's community, just reach out to him directly for that Monday networking and mentorship community, but also here on Fridays as well. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to the incredible Julie for the next question, which I know, Julie, you're excited because we're going to be seeing each other in person in Chicago for dinner on Monday night. So we cannot wait to see you, but go ahead and unmute yourself and ask David your question.
Thanks, Nick of Lom, and David, love you. And I'm so excited to join you on Monday. And I'm also bringing my partner, Mika Altador. She's here in the audience as well. So we are so excited to get to be around the brilliance that is David Meltzer. I encourage everybody here who's in the Chicago area to reach out to David or Nick, because you can't miss an experience like this. And it's all about creating a circle, and that's something that I've had problems with in the past. And by the way, today is Friday the 13th, and it's often associated with superstition and fear. And I know a lot of people are limited by superstition, fear. And how can we know that we are making the right decisions in terms of abundance? Because I think we often listen to the voices of others, mute our actual inner compass. So what is that thing we all need to know, David?
Oh, I really look forward to seeing you. And we also, have and are blessed with Chris Gardner coming to Chicago. So if you've ever seen the movie Pursuit of Happiness, which I argue is untrue because there is no pursuit of happiness. Happiness is the pursuit. It's going to be an incredible neighborhood in Chicago, then Boston, then back to Chicago and South Dakota. But more importantly, in this aspect of right or wrong decisions. So decisions are instant. And what does that mean? That when we make a decision or come to an agreement, which is a decision between two or more people, when we come to a decision, whether it's oral, written, implied, even with consideration is money or payment, one thing is certain, that time, emotion, and value will change instantly after the decision or agreements are made. What does this mean? There is no wrong. There is no right or wrong. There's just a best option, opportunities and touches of favor, prioritized by the circumstances of today, controlled by your meaning of the past, which is a limitation that we'll have, and your own self-image. And so what I want you to do is when you feel right or wrong, you're feeling separate from the infinite loop or the abundant nature or the infinite system that you belong to. And so instead of worrying, accelerating in the wrong direction, doubting, creating more fear, what I want you to do is when you get into the context of labeling it right or wrong, worrying about the decision that you make, realize that the decision that you make or agreements that you have only really have one objective, which is try your best to utilize timing and risk tolerance to stay aligned with what changes, which will be the time, emotion, and value that is constantly changing. And so knowing the difference between right or wrong compared to best option, doing my best, aligning meaning and divine direction, and expecting divine detours and giving it the meaning through wisdom and faith to shorten the distance of resistance that I'm creating between me and the best options, the best opportunities, and the best touches of favor, which are only guaranteed because of my faith. You see, the more you believe and the stronger you have faith that there's something bigger than you that knows everything, has everything, loves you more than your mom, protects you more than your mom, and promotes you more than your mom, the more you will see that all decisions are good if the behaviors are good. In other words, all decisions are good in a matter of time. And so instead of looking at whether they're good or not, look at whether or not they're interfering with where I want to be or better by seeing if they're scarce or abundant. If they contain enough wisdom and faith, then we're accelerating towards something better. So think in the options, opportunities, and touches of favor in our lives in the better decisions than good or bad, right or wrong. All you're making is better decisions when you're doing your best, learning lessons and having fun with the actual time, emotion, and value that's created in the circumstances of today by what? Giving the meaning of the past through gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability, and expanding our self-image, notating that we'll never overachieve our own self-image, which puts us into a better divine direction, allows us to handle divine detours in divine time, which creates more abundance, more than enough to give, to be given, to receive, and to ask for more. And so this neighborhood, this frequency that we're creating together is to create a collective consciousness of betterment, of collectively doing our best and aligning with where we want to be or better according to the circumstances of today, meaning of the past, in a divine direction, in divine time. This neighborhood, this frequency will elevate a collective awareness to allow us all to have more, to be given more, to receive more, and ask for more than more, etc. And this is one of the challenges that we do, is we are critical and put conditions and judgments and comparisons on ourselves. And one of those is always right or wrong or good or bad. Remember, good behavior is yours. Good decisions is yours. If they're aligned with where you want to be or better, by giving meaning to the past and seeing the divine detours as divine and allowing for divine time, then we're always in betterment. We're always in abundance. Does that sound fair?
That sounds fair. So you're kind of saying to me like there's no bad decision that I'm making. It is about surrendering.
As long as you're intentional about your decisions, your agreements. And intentionality means, are you doing, saying, thinking, feeling, and believing in what you see, perceive as aligned with where you want to be or better. Not where other people want you to be, not what's missing, not what you don't have, but are you aligning your behaviors with where you want to be or better? And those behaviors are part and parcel of what you do, say, think, feel, and believe. And that requires you to take the circumstances of today, give the meaning, find the light, the love, and the lessons of the past, and align it with a divine direction of where you think you want to be or better. And when you do that and get into the practice of that, using 5 daily practices, which, Julie, I'll be happy to send to you and to everyone else, just email me along. I'll send this guide for Infinite Loop, david@dmeltzer.com. I want you to ask yourself every day, what is it I want personally, experientially, giving and receiving, according to the circumstances of today? Who can I help and who can help me? And how best can I get it done, deriving from gratitude, forgiveness, and accountability, meaning from the past for the sake of a divine direction, anticipating divine detours, and allowing or surrendering, like you just suggested, to divine time. Then I can prioritize each day. So I'm making not right or wrong decisions, good or bad decisions, just the best decisions according to me and the circumstances of today. And so instead of searching for this why that you're suggesting you're searching for, you're applying your why through the wisdom that you have and the faith that you are protected, promoted, and loved by something that's omniscient and all-powerful, bigger than you. And so this is the best direction, the best options, the best opportunities and touches of favor. You're doing your best, learning lessons and having fun. There is no perfection. There is just progress. Progress is created by your behaviors. Have a system of knowing your what, your who, your how, your now. Apply your why. Anybody else that wants those 5 daily practices, just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Julie, I can't wait to continue and expand on this conversation with some elevated souls on Monday in Chicago, and hopefully we've inspired others to join us as well. Look forward to it. We'll be in Chicago, Boston, South Dakota. We've been doing a mastermind at SoFi Stadium for the Rams game. We got so many different ways to elevate this community. All you have to do is show up, do your best, learn lessons, have fun. Let's all be proximate. Let's continue to elevate this collective consciousness as we do every Friday for almost 25 years. Nick, we are now in the 4th quarter. Hold up your 4 fingers as if you play for Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, one of those great Midwestern schools. Here's the Nick of Blom. We are coming into our 4th quarter.
Absolutely. I know everybody's putting those 4s up in the air, and let's continue to move forward with this incredible Q&A session. With that said, I'm going to pass it over. Hold on. I want to make sure. Yep, she is still here. We have Eamon, who has been patiently waiting. So thank you so much for joining us. I know you have a great question for David, so go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you so much, David, for your time and your effort. Being here is every Friday is amazing, and I've been waiting from last Friday actually to ask you this question. How can I deal with the inability to receive, not because I don't want, because I don't know how to ask? Maybe it seems a weird question, but the question is, who should I ask? Just ask God, because I can't ask people. I can't. I have that. Though I don't have any issue to give everything I have.
Yes. So this is a beautiful question, and I know you feel awkward asking it, but here's the thing about asking. If you want to get better at something, I make a ton of money off of telling people this piece of advice for everything. Everyone, how can I get better at making money? How can I get better at saving money? How can I get better at my relationships? How can I get better at leading? How can I get better at changing the world? Speaking, coaching, doing a podcast. How can I get better at asking? How can I get better at receiving? Practice. Practice. Practice allows us, through a commitment to consistent, non-negotiable behavior, to be persistent in the pursuit of what we want. And if you don't know who to ask, then practice finding out who to ask. Meaning, if you want to do something, say something, find someone who sits in the situation that you want to be in and ask them for directions. So if you want to learn how to have diet, then find someone. And luckily that all these people are so accessible, the community is so accessible, and being able to find the people that sit in the situation that you want, whether it be speaking, authoring, coaching, whether it be for abundance, relationships, nutrition, exercise, breathing, combing your hair, doing faces, I don't care. We have something amazing called the internet and social media where we can find people who sit in the situation that we want to be in and ask them for direction. And if we practice asking in person every day, on the phone every day, via email every day, via social and traditional media every single day. You see, the difference of today comparatively is that the size, scope, and scale of the total addressable, accessible community is unfathomable. When I was young, we were limited to who we could ask. It was to our church group, our golf game, our poker game, our offices, our associates, our breakfast clubs. Not today. On average, every human being on earth has about 1,000 people in their community. And if we find the right people who have surrounded themselves with the same like energy and frequency, we are exponentially growing by asking every single day. Think about it. If all you did was get into the habit of practicing asking by asking one time a day, in person, on the phone, via email, traditional, social media, you're asking one person each day. That would be 28 people a week, which would then give you access to 28,000 people a week, which would then give you access to 112,000 people a month. That used to be a lifetime. That's just by being committed in a non-negotiable behavior of doing that every single day, consistently, persistently. You are building a community of over 1 million people in year one, just by simply asking and getting into the practice of asking. So what I want you to do is practice asking. Whether or not you can find people who sit in the situation you want to be in, it doesn't matter. Just ask someone, hey, would it help you with? Do you know anyone that can help me? 2 great questions that you can practice asking that will create abundant and adhere to, align with, aggregate, accelerate into an infinite loop of abundance. Do you know anyone that can help me? Would it help you with? 2 of the great transitional statements and questions that can be utilized as a catalytic question to abundance, the infinite loop of everything for everyone. Anyone out there that wants to get better at something, then practice, make it a non-negotiable, committed behavior, align with a minimum amount of time every day. 2 minutes a day, 7 days a week is worth more than 2 hours on a Saturday, especially being a parent. So be involved, be engaged, be accessible, ask for help, ask how you can be of service or value to others. Nick of Guam, let's take another question.
Absolutely. We will keep this train rocking and rolling. I'm actually going to pass it over to the one and only Marissa Meltzer. Marissa, it is great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask David your question. Welcome.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
Fantastic would be an understatement, and now I get to speak to my oldest daughter, so things are even better than fantastic. How can I help you, my dear?
All right, so we've been talking about value all day, and I know that value obviously integrates into developing deals and sales. So I guess when you're learning to receive, how do you, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question effectively, but how do you integrate prioritizing who to give to, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So whenever we're prioritizing anything, the first step is to know our timing and risk tolerance, because that is stable to all data of prioritization, because it allows us to know what's important to us today according to the circumstances of today, and allows us to derive the light, the love, and the lessons of the past to align it where we think we want to be or better. So most people skip the step in understanding that their time and their value is an investment every single day. And every investment that we make, whether we should do this job, call this person, go to college, do whatever we want to do, every investment that we make requires us to have stable data, which is aligned with the backbone of decision making or prioritization, which is understanding our timing and risk tolerance. And so if we understand our time and risk tolerance today, according to the circumstances of the day, the meaning of the past, the light, the love, and the lessons that we've learned in a divine direction for the future, we then now have a point of reference or context in order to prioritize what's important to us personally, experientially, giving and receiving wise. And once we know what's important to us according to the circumstances of the day, using the lessons of the past and having faith in a divine direction with divine detours and divine time, then we can easily prioritize our giving, our ability to be given, and our awareness of that as well, receiving, and who to ask. Only if we know our timing and risk tolerance is a backbone in a reference point to our timing and risk tolerance and the prioritization of what's important to us, can we do that. And that's why those 5 daily practices are so important in order to apply our why and prioritize our day, month, weeks, and years in a divine direction and allow for divine time. Others call it surrender, detachment. I call it intention. And so, Marissa, I want you to think about what's important to you, using urgency as a subset according to the circumstances of the day as well, but in alignment of that divine direction and divine time with divine detours to be able to utilize what we're doing. 5 minutes, Davey Fresh. We got Dave Williams hosting Elevate here. He's amazing. So if anybody would like any of this, I want to repeat, please just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'll send you the 5 daily practices, the divine guide of infinite loop, and my book. I'll sign it, send it to you, pay for shipping and the book. It's not a problem. Just email me, david@dmeltzer.com. Come see us in Chicago, Boston, South Dakota. Love to see you. We're down here in Miami at Elevate. Tim Story, Dave Williams sitting right behind me. An incredible studio and showroom that we're here with Monica as well. Nick of WOM, we have time for one more question.
And for our one more question, or last question of the day, I'm going to pass it over to the one and only Chef Ron. Chef Ron, it's great to see you. Happy Friday. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
You got it. Thanks for fitting me in. Hey, Coach, I love you, buddy.
I love you too. Thanks for asking the last question.
Yep. Hey, real fast. So, well, it's funny you're bringing this up today. So it started this week, and I don't know what's going on, but I feel I have this anxious, worry, pressure. Like I felt when I first hired you, when Chefs for Seniors was struggling. I can't pinpoint where it's coming from because everything's kind of going well, to be honest with you. But I couldn't sleep last night, and I don't know what's going on. But it's like an anxious worry thing, and I'm going back. I'm doing stop, drop, and roll, and it's helping on the sound lounge a little bit. But I'm not getting it.
Well, I love that you're vulnerable enough to help us all with something that we all experience, which is, why am I worried? Why am I afraid? And so looking at that, number one, identifying that worry and fear is a reaction to fear. So anxiety, depression, and fear is a reaction to fear. And we can't decipher what we're afraid of because there's so much trauma, past life trauma, womb trauma, infant trauma, tween trauma, teen trauma, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s trauma that we don't have to worry about what we're worrying about. But what we want to do is practicing how quickly we can get back to center. And so getting pragmatic about the usage of time in order to facilitate being at ease by identifying how long am I going to stay at dis-ease. And so what I would do is lean into my non-negotiables to put me back at ease. And so remember, the logic cannot overcome emotion, but action can, because action is energy in motion. It's an emotion. And so what we want to do is say, think, feel, and believe where we want to be or better, or think that where we want to be or majority of the time, and limit how and what we do. So instead of resisting this reaction to fear, trying to go over it, under it, through it, around it, lie to it, cheat to it, manipulate it, lie to it, simply stop. So you talk about practicing the stop, drop, and roll, but stay in the stop longer if you're having a trouble dropping and rolling.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, I've had several of the people that I'm working with now have some individual things they are aware of that are creating interference between them and their divine direction. And sometimes we need to stop longer and not resist, overanalyze, out logic, go over, under, through and around it, lie to it, cheat it, manipulate it, deny it, question it, worry about it. Just simply stop longer. And if you stop longer, it'll allow you to drop. Once you drop down to center, identify the dis-ease, you'll roll into the right trajectory, the divine direction. All right, let's close out the room. I got to go step on stage. Thank you, everyone. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com. This is almost 25 years of Free Friday training. We have over 100,000 people registered, and it looks like we have a record, at least on Facebook, of the most concurrent people we've ever had. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. We are on the road, and please join us on the road. Email me, david@dmeltzer.com, for the Infinite Loop training. The book, I can send it, sign it, pay for shipping and the book, or the 5 daily practices, which I'm about to go talk about. Nick of Wam, it's 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's all you. Finish us up.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, David, for such a powerful training today. And of course, for everybody, both online as well as live here on Clubhouse, for, of course, joining us. And I saw in the room chat, Damien, I saw that you said you had a question for David as well. Unfortunately, of course, we do not have enough time today, but you can not only email David directly in terms of your question, just david@dmeltzer.com, or, of course, you can join us on this upcoming Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where we will have an Ask Me Anything here in the Breakfast with Champions. Now, with that said, everybody, just a quick little recap of that schedule. And as a reminder, on Monday, we are going to be in Chicago. Tuesday, we will be in Boston. Wednesday, we will be in South Dakota. And next Sunday, we will be at the most beautiful stadium in the entire world, SoFi Stadium, for a mastermind for the 49ers and Rams game. So if you would like to join us, people, it is as simple as david@dmeltzer.com, or of course, feel free to join the text community so you're getting the reminders on where David's going to be. And that's just 949-298-2905. And with that said, everybody, go ahead and enjoy the incredible, beautiful rest of your Friday. Have a beautiful weekend ahead. We will see you next week. And as David always says, be kind to your future self and do good deeds. Thanks so much, everybody, for everyone joining us online. Gigi, hit it.